that we talked about last week. Jack is on the ball today. Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans. So these election periods that we talked about last week are through the federal government, through the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Again, Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans roll up through because it is a federal program. That is how those work. So again, Medicare Advantage and prescription drugs use those election periods that we discussed last week. Awesome. Well, good job, guys. Election periods are tough. So again, use your resources. If you're on Learning Lab, get into those content library sections and start walking through some of the information that we have available for you to learn. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk a little bit more about the compliance and selling compliantly. So I'm going to kick it over to Carlos, and Carlos is going to go through a few of our main points here. So Carlos.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate it. And first of all, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I forgot that there's no video share, so I dressed up in a lime green tuxedo and green face paint for nothing. So sorry about that. Also, we're selling compliantly. Can you go to the next slide, please? A lot of agents, when they see all the compliance issues wrapped around selling to seniors, a lot of them freeze. They're like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to engage in the business. Look, the bottom line is this. If you put the needs of the seniors first, you will be right and working compliantly 99% of the time. Okay? Just always put the needs of others first and you'll be okay most of the time. And then it'll be okay to make mistakes. Mistakes do happen. Okay? They happen from time to time. Just don't make the same mistakes over and over again. And then, just learn from them. Okay, so first of all, when dealing with seniors in Medicare, we need to get something called permission to contact, or PTC. Okay, this is looked at as a curse or a blessing by a lot of agents. I choose to look at it as a blessing. Basically, permission to contact means permission given by the consumer to be called or contacted by a representative of UHC for the purpose of marketing a UHC Medicare product. In other words, if you're going to sell something, if you're calling to sell something to them, they have to give you the permission before you contact them. Okay? PTCs must be obtained prior to making the direct contact with the consumer, except when you use bulk things like bulk mail, advertisements, if you're using a social media platform, something like that, and you're sending out to a lot of different people, then you don't have to worry about it. But if it's a direct contact, then you need to have the permission to contact. So the mechanisms there, consumer requests a return call from an agent, then you're approved. You got the green light to make contact. If they return a business reply card or a lead card submitted by the consumer, you got the green light and permission to contact. If they have an online contact form, maybe a social media page and it's a contact me feature there, you got the green light to contact. Or they send an email to you saying they need more information about something. Again, that's green light to contact. Agents may contact anyone they also have a business relationship with without permission to contact. Okay, so this is relatively new. This only came about in the last few years, where if you have a business relationship, and a business relationship is pretty vague. Basically, if you have clients in your book of business that you sell annuities to, life insurance, investment products, then you have a green light to contact them to let them know that you offer Medicare plans as well. Okay, so you can contact those people. Bottom line, no matter the source, ensure you have documented permission to contact prior to contacting the consumer. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And one of the things on here talks about the business reply cards. You can actually order them off Jarvis. Once you are fully certified, that will unlock the door to all our marketing material, and you'll be able to order business reply cards to get that permission to contact from consumers as well. Okay. The reason why I say you can look at it as a blessing or curse, some agents will look at that going, well, shoot, I can't cold call. I can't go door knocking because that's what they're used to. But I look at it as a blessing. Number one, it's going to protect your book of business from being poached. So if they're your customer and your client, other agents cannot cold call. Okay, that's one thing. Number two, when you do get a lead coming in, it's already a warm lead because they wanted information from you from the get-go. Okay, so that's great. Next slide, please. Okay, so what you should not do. Okay, so again, put the needs of others first and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, number one, you don't want to approach a consumer in a common area. You know, the parking lot, the hallways, lobbies of doctor's offices, that's a big no. Nobody wants to be taking their groceries to the car and approached by somebody that's selling something. Okay, that's kind of a no-brainer. Also, you should not approach a consumer outside of an educational or marketing sales event. So if you're holding an educational workshop, you can talk to everybody there. But people outside of that, you cannot go talk to. An example with that, I have agents who like to do little workshops in bowling alleys before and after senior leave. Okay, well, they can do that. They just can't go and approach random seniors about products who happen to be out there bowling in their senior league or at a golf course or something like that. But if they stick up flyers and consumers come into their workshop, then you're green lighted to talk to them. Okay. Also, no door-to-door solicitation. Again, I mentioned that earlier. You cannot distribute material outside of an educational marketing event, leaving materials outside a residence, or basically you can't leave materials outside a resident's home, you know, or on their vehicles. Okay. You can put them in common areas, like maybe a community bulletin board, but you can't just stick them in all the mailboxes or stick them on vehicles. Okay. I mentioned this earlier, no cold calling, cannot cold call without the permission to contact. Bottom line, you need consent before contact. It's very simple. Okay. Next slide. Okay, what you can do, and you should do, is you should contact your current book of business. Let your clients know you specialize in Medicare. That is crucial right now to growing your business. I love telling this story because it's so relevant even now, 20 years later. I used to be in the business like you, doing annuities, life insurance, investment products. And 20 years ago, when the mortgage market was booming, we even did home loans. Okay, I did home loans. I remember there was an agent in our office who was a little upset when he came into work because he found out that his mom and dad refinanced their home with somebody else because his mom and dad did not know he did mortgages too. Okay, so one thing you gotta do is let your book of business know and let your friends and family know. You know, if you have a social media page, maybe Facebook or Instagram, it's okay to say, hey, look, I offer Medicare. Have Medicare questions? You know, I now represent Medicare products. It has to be vague like that. You can't mention United Healthcare or plan specifics, but anything very vague like I offer Medicare plans in the local area, you don't need approval for that. You can put things out there like that. So number one, contact your book of business. And number two, let your friends and family know that you have these products. And when I say friends and family, I mean your book of business, not just the ones who you think are Medicare eligible. Okay, you can contact and you should contact those who are under 65 as well, because there's some folks who have, you know, siblings who might be older or parents that might be older, and they're the ones that who are being educated and making the decision on behalf of their parents. I'll tell you right now, out of every 20 agents, you know, that are out there, one of them got into Medicare because they educated themselves on Medicare because they had parents aging in. They wanted to help their parents out. And once they knew all the answers, their parents' friends started calling them with questions. And so what they did, they got licensed and now they're selling. That's very common. So when you're contacting your book of business, of course you want to contact the seniors, but also you want to contact those under 65 as a referral source. Okay. So once you become the agent of record, you can contact members at any time. Okay. Once they become their clients, and that is huge. You're going to want to do that to keep the persistency up and keep them, you know, keep them your clients. You want to be in your client's mind, their Medicare resource. All right. So the way agents do that is they'll send them a birthday card, maybe a holiday card. They'll pre-AEP card, let them know, hey, you know, AEP is approaching. Should you have any questions, please let me know, which is huge because right before AEP enrollment season, every insurance carrier under the sun, us and everybody else out there, starts using direct mail, and your clients are going to get a shoebox full of mail saying, hey, look at our plan. Hey, look at our plan. They're going to have questions. Okay. It's nice to get ahead of that. If they already know that you are their Medicare resource, when those letters come in, they can contact you with any questions they have. So if you want to retain the business, it's good to contact 2 or 3 times during the year. Okay. Also, what you'll want to do is have new member meetings. You know, at the end of AEP, at the end of enrollment season, when that January 1st rolls around, you got a bunch of new clients in. One way to retain business and drive new business is have a new member meeting. What you do is you take all the people you enrolled and say, hey, look, we're going to do a plan review come like the end of January or February. Well, you'll not only get the folks you just enrolled coming out to your meeting to find out about their plan, but they'll bring friends and family with them who are aging into Medicare or might be retiring this coming year and have questions too. Okay, it's a good source to retain business and also get new business as well. Okay, also you can contact local organizations. This is huge also. Senior centers, doctors' offices, places of worship, Chamber of Commerce are another good place to go. If you're going to be selling our dual plans, you'll want to go into mobile home parks are a good place to go for that, or food banks. But the list goes on and on. Contact your local market manager, and they'll be happy to help you put a game plan together of different organizations that will help you grow your Medicare business. Bottom line, unless you have a working relationship, you will need to obtain permission to contact before discussing Medicare options. So with that, you have the permission to contact if it's your own book of business. Everything else, you can use the direct mail pieces. You can go out and do community workshops, and we'll help you with that on doing group presentation type meetings. Also, local organizations are going to be key to growing your business as well. Okay, and then next slide, please. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to turn the time over now to Kent to talk to you about scope of appointments, or as I like to call them, permission slips. Okay, so Kent, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. Great information there. And did you hear that? You have a gold mine with your existing business, with your existing relationships, and those that you know to get the word out. And so we highly recommend that, to get the word out to everybody, because I have had that conversation with so many agents, like Carlos was mentioning, that so-and-so, they were having a conversation and they just signed up with United Healthcare last month. Oh, I didn't know you did United Healthcare Medicare plans. Geez, I would have used you. And that is the worst moment. And I've had that conversation multiple times. So make sure you get the word out there. So since we're looking at scope of appointment here, or compliance, selling compliantly, one of the aspects here is scope of appointment. What this is this is required for 2 out of the 3 Medicare lines of business. These are the ones that really have direct oversight from CMS, and that is going to be your Medicare Advantage plans, as well as your prescription drug plans. If you're enrolling somebody just on a Medicare supplement, you probably won't need this. However, most likely that conversation, you're going to touch on all 3 anyways. So we recommend to get this done. Basically what this is, it's an agreement that you have them sign, your prospect, at the time of the appointment. The great news is there's a big change that happened 2 years ago. Since the Medicare Modernization Act from the 2006, it used to be required that you would have to actually get a scope of appointment signed by your prospect and back into your hand 48 hours prior to the appointment. You talk about having an awkward moment of trying to put that together. And of course, we had techniques of reaching out and doing it. But the good news is the scope of appointment is now just required at the start of the meeting. So you no longer have to get out there. And so if you're getting information from someone else, because there's still people that believe that in the market, that you got to get it 48 hours prior, that rule is gone, thank God. But basically what you're going to do is have them at the start of the appointment. You're going to just fill out this agreement that says, okay, great, we're going to be looking at Medicare Advantage plans, prescription drug plans, and Medicare supplement. And that's it. You just check the 3 boxes. We recommend to go ahead and do that. They sign it, you sign it. You're going to hold on to this form for 10 years. Okay? There's no obligation to enroll with that. And yes, it has to be signed. And just make sure you get that done prior to you're starting your appointment. Now, let's say you sign up, you're set up the appointment, and you're meeting with Bob Smith. Well, Mary Jane Smith, his wife, steps in the room. She's also Medicare eligible. She's looking for a plan. You need to do a scope of appointment for that second person as well. So make sure you're keeping that in the back of your mind. Where can you find these things? In our enrollment books, our enrollment kits on all of our prescription drug and Medicare Advantage plans, you will find them right before the application. It's in there. That's the paper form. If you're going to use Lean, which we highly recommend, using the electronic platform for everything, we have the scope of appointment. You just click on that and you can take care of that electronically. That can really help during COVID, because if you're meeting with somebody online, you're doing a presentation through the internet, then you can just take care of it electronically. Just email them, they DocuSign it, it's done, it's over. The good news is if you do it that way, we're going to hold on to that for 10 years for you. You don't have to worry about it. You as the agent are required to hold on to it for 10 years. If you're going to do a paper form, you make sure you hold on to it. That's your obligation there. So that's basically the easy overall aspect of what the scope of appointment is about. It's much more friendly than it used to be. Yes, sir.
Hey, Ken, real quickly, let me interject something real quick, because you reminded me of something that you just said. You said earlier that you need the scopes for Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans. And the same thing holds true for the permission to contact as well. But here's the deal, okay? You need that information for prescription drug plans and Medicare Advantage plans. Also get it for Med Sups. Med Sups play by a different set of rules. However, seniors don't remember if you talked about a Med Sup or Medicare Advantage. If they contact Medicare for any reason, and Medicare asks them, well, did you give them permission to contact you? No, I never. And you're cold calling Med Sups, you're going to get dinged, because even though you're cold calling Med Sups, or you're doing a scope, or you're meeting a meeting to enroll somebody in Med Sup, they're not going to remember that, and you're going to get in trouble, because they're going to say, oh, yeah, he talked about Medicare Advantage also. So I say, do not be in the gray area. Always cover your behind, okay? Always get permission to contact and scope of appointments, approved for Med Sups also, because in the consumer's mind, they mix them up for each other all the time, and I don't want you to get in trouble as an agent. Just get the permissions and scopes for everything. Okay, back to you, Ken.
Hey, that's a great call out, Carlos. Appreciate that very much. That is definitely best practice there for sure. Because like I said, you're probably going to be talking about the other plans in the appointment anyways. So great call. Appreciate that. All right. And then Matt, if you go to the next slide. All right. So we're going to look at, how can the consumers receive the scope of appointment in person, right there at the start of the appointment? You can do it. You can mail it to them. You can have an email or fax. You can do a remote signature, which is, again, right there in Lean for the application process. It's done. And it says, what happens if the consumer is not sure what product they would like to discuss? That's what we said before. Just check them all. Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, prescription drug plans. That way, it's all taken care of. You got to hold on to this for 10 years. That's just the way it is. If you do it electronically through us, we'll do the hard work for you there. Again, take home point is just make sure you take care of that. And like Carlos mentioned, where this comes up is when there is a complaint filed to Medicare. And I want to say two things before I go that direction. One is, if a complaint is filed Medicare, it's pretty common. Don't worry about it. We'll have new agents that come out, they get their writing ID, and the compliance, our modules take them through, and you're so scared of the Medicare police, you can't even do anything. Don't worry about it. Do the best job you can, and cover all your bases. That's why we want to cover the selling compliantly thing. So just make sure you're doing the best you can through the process there, and you'll be good. When a complaint a CTM, as we call it, complaint to Medicare, is filed from a consumer, the basics are the compliance representative just goes through, checks it off the box. Did they do a scope of appointment? Where was the meeting at? Were they licensed and appointed with the carrier? Blah, 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 through there. Very standard stuff. Most of the time, it comes back where it's not substantiated, where it's like, you know what, actually this was covered just right, and it's just written off. Not a big deal there. And even when there is a mistake made, we all make them. Don't worry about it. You may make a mistake yourself. It's okay. We will get through it together if that happens. So, but yeah, best practices, hold on to that and take care of it up front as you move through there, and then you're good to go. And then next slide. So this one has a lot of information, and this really is our checklist. And so I want to go through some of the key points for you. We're going to email this out to you guys or to Jeff so we can send it out to the teams and hold on file, because this would be your guide, especially when you're new rolling out there. What do I need to do? What do I need to think about? This form is really designed for field agents, but there's a twist to it. It has a component from somebody who is a field sales agent, working closely with leads from United Healthcare. And so when you look at introduce and clearly state the call and so forth, you look at this first section here, confirm basic information. These are things you're going to do anyways as an insurance agent. You're going to have this on file. But part of this is you're going to be getting permission to call. So if you kind of go through and follow this format, you're going to be in pretty good shape. I want to cover just some of the key things that you're going to want to think about as you roll through here, because some of them are important. And you're going to be learning about that. For those of you who have not done certifications, you're going to learn more about the requirements as you roll through here. But when you ask somebody about additional decision maker, we talked about that. Identify who the decision maker is. We talked about if somebody else comes in, maybe it's the spouse. That person might have power of attorney. So just keep in the back of your mind that your basic role is maybe, because it's very common that you have a spouse that's calling on behalf, or you're meeting with someone and they're calling meeting with you regarding maybe their dad, or maybe it's a sibling or a child even that can have Medicare disability. Remember that they would need to have power of attorney. The biggest question that comes into that point is, do I need to get the records to show that? Do I need to get a copy of that health directive power of attorney from them? And the answer is no. Basically, you just need to ask the question, oh, okay, great. So you have power of attorney to make healthcare decisions for this person? Fantastic. On the application, there's a spot you would see, and you'd actually have them fill it out there, that they are the power of attorney for healthcare decisions for that person, and they roll through it. Basically, it says authorized representative is where that comes in there. So, but as the practice here is identify who that decision maker is, because if there is someone else that needs to be involved, you want to have them with you at the appointment, right? Or maybe it's a third way call. You get them on there and say, great, let's have them in on the conversation here so we can make sure we're answering those questions. You don't want to do the work twice. Of course, you're going to go through talking about current health plan and what are they looking for. I like the flow of this document because it basically takes you through the needs analysis. When are you looking to make a change? Maybe they're retiring in the next 60 days or 90 days, or maybe they're coming off of a group plan that's being dissolved. We see a lot of that in the market these days. Or perhaps their spouse is retiring, or maybe they lost a spouse. Something that's clicking where they have to make a decision and find their own Medicare plan. Key thing I want to mention on that is if they're with a group plan works a little bit different. You could be on a group retiree plan, but maybe you were state of California, PERS as an example, the Public Employee Retiree System, and you're on this program. You're paying $400 or $500 a month sometimes for that care. You start looking at the individual Medicare market and you say, you know what? Gosh, we got a plan over here for $69 a month on a Medicare Advantage plan. This would save me $350 a month or $325. They're looking into that. Key point to remember on a group plan, and you probably are aware of this, but for those who have not been involved in the group side, if you come off the group plan as a retiree, that's pretty much going to be your last time. You can't come back to that. So you'll want to make sure you have a clean discussion on what type of coverage they have. Is it employer-based? Have they done their homework there? And a lot of times you'll find it's like, yeah, they're paying, because especially like some of the employees with PERS for the lower classifications, they're paying $400 or $500 out of pocket. And they go, you know what? This actually is going to be a better way to go than it would be on the group, and they come off of that. So just a couple of key things to think of there. Preparing for the appointment, obviously, you know, this is standard stuff. Time of appointment, blah, blah, blah. I would, when it comes down to length of appointment, keep in the back of your mind when you're new, give yourself some time. You know, book it in your mind for an hour and a half, that you're going to have a conversation with somebody, that you don't want to be rushed for time. You know, space it out there. When things roll, and this is the whole goal with iLeverage, is bringing everybody on this time of the year. So we have you up and running. You have your first applications done. Springtime, summer, you have 5 or 10 applications under your belt between now and summertime. We roll into AEP October 15th. You have a great understanding of how the whole system works, and you'll find your appointment's going to be closer to an hour in and out, and you're done. And even less than that if you're doing it online through the lean, because it's so quick with the application process. So, but just, you know, make sure you book out your schedule. You guys are professionals. You know how that whole thing works there. When we get to the bottom of this first page here, one of the key things here that I want to highlight is this. Here are some of the things you're going to need at the appointment. If we go to enroll you, I'm going to need your Medicare card. That's obvious. But important is list of doctors and specialists and prescription drugs. This is a common area, and it's actually a great selling tool for you, because they say, well, you know what, I have this family practice doctor who I've used for years. They're over on 3rd Street in San Francisco, or they're over here in San Jose, and they are great. Having that knowledge up front beforehand, where you can just check online, look into Jarvis on plan information and look for the providers, find a provider. It's like, oh yeah, I've looked up your doctors prior to the appointment. They are part of this plan. This is going to work for you. Secondly is prescriptions. Some people take none. Others take 20. It's going to be a discussion point that you're going to want to have to look that up to make sure and see how their prescriptions are covered. Some are not covered. And that's okay, because some of them are pretty inexpensive. It might be a generic, you know, some kind of a thing they buy over the counter for $5 anyways. Not a big deal. So those are probably two of the key important things that I want to recommend there is make sure you're doing some homework there, because it's also an area where people get confused at, because they're going to be using this Medicare plan, including prescription drugs, to pick up those drugs. And you want to make sure that they have you have the information and you help them with that. Looking over at the other point here, obviously you guys are professional. I don't need to go through selling you, but you know, ask open-ended questions. What has changed since we last spoke? All those good things. It's great to have. It'll be on there for you there. One question on this optional section, I'm on the middle of the second column here, is how often do you travel away from this area? This is really a key point to think about. We talked about the differences on travel and foreign travel emergencies and coverages. It's great to start thinking about in terms of, you know, they got a motorhome and they're heading out on the road for 6 months out of the year throughout the whole country, right? That's everybody's, well, not everybody, that's a lot of people's dreams to retire and do this kind of thing. You're probably not going to want to be on a network-based insurance plan where to go to for a routine doctor visit, you have to come back to California for that. That might be someone who maybe would be better served with a Medicare supplement or our Medicare Advantage plan PPO option, which if they're in one of those counties where we have that, then they can choose and use a network doctor throughout the country. So it's important to kind of see where they're at, what they're looking for, what their habits are. So you're gathering information to be able to find out and recommend really the plan that's most appropriate for their situation there. So then you kind of restate, you guys are insurance professionals. Here's what I've heard you say. Here are the needs. Is there anything else that we need to focus on? Those kind of things. Coming down to the bottom here, this plan presentation, we have the Clarity Workbook. And I believe that Todd went through this a little bit a couple of weeks back. I wasn't on that call. But we have a workbook that takes you through all the compliance topics. Start to finish, it's very easy. You just go through quickly. It has check boxes for people to indicate the differences. Yes, they know it's the difference between a Medicare Advantage and a Medicare supplement. You're going to explain that anyways as you talk about Medicare, the Medicare 101. I always want to take a few minutes to talk about the differences there, but it's important. So you go through to check, did we talk about this? You know, this is a network-based insurance plan, HMO coverage. You want to use an in-network provider unless it's an emergency. If you don't, you're going to pay out of pocket for that possibly. You know, those types of things you're going to want to make sure you talk about. On a PPO plan, if they go out of the network, they can still get coverage, but they're going to probably have to pay more for that. Enrollment election periods. We covered that last week with the different election periods. The Clarity booklet talks about some of the things, and Matt did the review here, AEP and all the different things. Special election periods when a person can come off a group plan and enroll and so forth. Enrollment eligibility requirements. This has gotten a lot easier because there's no longer the ESRD question. Now it's, do you have Medicare Part A? Do you have Medicare Part B? And do you live in the service area that this Medicare Advantage plan includes? Great, there you go. The eligibility requirements done there. So that's the first page there. And again, we're going to send this out to you. You don't have to memorize the information. It's just good to have the overall perspective on what to look for. So if you go to the next page, page 2 of this really gets into some of the key things here. Not all of it, but there are some key things you're going to want to touch on as you're doing a coverage or as you're enrolling somebody in a plan. One of them is the Low Income Subsidy Extra Help Program. This is something you want to just mention that folks, people that are in a lower income, typically it's about $1,550 a month or less, they may qualify for the Low Income Subsidy Extra Help Program. It's independent of assets, as far as certain assets, I should say, like a house and a car are separate. So you could sit in a house, and we've seen this happen where you got a person with $1 million home, their income is very small, it's paid for cash, but it doesn't actually affect whether they qualify for the low income subsidy. It's important to just mention that as you go through, because some people say, you know, this might be something I want to pursue, and you can help them with that. Late enrollment penalty. People that are eligible for a Medicare prescription drug plan and don't enroll when they are eligible, they could receive a late enrollment penalty, which could affect them, which for the length of time that they're enrolled on that. Formulary, drug tiers, coverage drug stages on their plan, deductible initial coverage, coverage gap, and so forth. Pharmacy network, those are important to cover there. As you're going through that, and you're going to get better and better, and you'll see that. But it's basically standard pharmacies. You know, all your big ones are going to be part of us. We got Walgreens, Sam's Club, Costco, so forth. But it's nice to be able to just to cover that for them as well. In the enrollment guide, you're going to go through the benefit highlights, outline the plan. Obviously, it's part of the discussion with copays, prescription drug coverages, tiers, and you know, here's what it works. Here's how the plan works if you're hospitalized or emergency coverage and those kinds of things. So, you know, make sure it's all right there at your fingertips on page 8 and 9 on the enrollment books. Typically is where you'll find the benefit highlights. Of course, the provider networks, limitations, and those kind of things. And then we'll get into star ratings. We're going to have Brett talk a little bit about star ratings in a minute, but basically you're going to say it out loud what the star rating is for the plan. California, our star rating for for most of our Medicare Advantage plans is 4. And so great, you mentioned that this is a way that Medicare looks over and rates one carrier to the next, and you got United Healthcare, who is a 4 out of 5, so it's a strong rating there. And we'll go through a little bit more information there. There is also information available on Jarvis for enrollment guides to order those, plan recaps, Clarity workbooks. You can even do the Clarity video. You can say, great, now we're going to talk about Medicare 101. United Healthcare has got a video done. It takes about 8 minutes to go through. Bam, you show it, and that covers all your Medicare 101 information for them. And then just looking over on the other side, I want to look over here in compliance must-nots. And this is important that you don't say, hey, this is the best plan for you. You know, avoid the absolute superlatives. That, like, for example, United Healthcare, this is the largest plan that's available, the largest plan in the market. Now, you can say United Healthcare is number 7 on the Fortune 500 list of companies. Nothing wrong with that. That's a public fact. And it's also shows the strength of United Healthcare there. And there's some other things that you want to mention. Stay away from the word free when it comes to premium. We do have a couple of 0 premium plans that are like Stanislaus and in San Jose with the PMG. So you'd want to say it's a zero premium plan, if not free. You can refer to the gym membership as free, though, and some of the other ancillaries. So there is a little change in when and where we can use that. Best practice is just to say it's zero cost, and you'll stay out of trouble on that. And then after the sale, you want to make sure, of course, you know, your next steps, here's what you can expect to receive. But most important that I want to mention here is the 24 hours zone here. If you do a paper application, you must submit your application within 24 hours on a prescription drug plan and Medicare Advantage plan to United Healthcare. That's a CMS, that's a hard line. You got to get that done. And they do and required to look at when those applications were signed and when the application was submitted there. Easy ways around that rule, you guessed it, using our lean online application tool so you can get that taken care of there. Mention to them you're going to be receiving their enrollment package and so forth. Encourage them to take their annual physical and so forth. So just wanted to cover some of those key points so you have that, and so you have a good idea of things to do and things not to do. I would encourage you to take 5 or 10 minutes, review this information, study, especially when you're new, so you get an idea, and it just emphasizes some of the things you already learned in the certifications there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, I believe, Brett's going to cover on the star rating. So Brett, why don't you take it away from here?
All right. Well, thank you, Kent. And yeah, Carlos actually posted in the chat. Feel free to ask questions. This is really a lot of information. One of the things I would like to add, Kent did a wonderful job of explaining the SOA. One of the questions you're going to, or one of the situations you're going to face is, what happens if you don't get your SOA back before your application? All right. So remember, the SOA, as I used to look at it, was a form of CYA, right? If something happens in the future, the first thing is going to be asked of you is, did you have permission, or were your member clear on what you were enrolling them in? So that's what the SOA is truly for. So I would get in the habit of, if I were you, sending out a handwritten physical SOA via mail, include a self-stamped addressed envelope, and send it off to your member. So what happens when you meet with them and you don't have the SOA, make sure you document it. Hey, Kent, I sent you the SOA via email. Did you ever get it? Well, I'm not real sure. Okay, well, I threw one in the mail to you as well. We're going to get started on the application, but I just want to point out that I do clearly have your permission to enroll you today, and I need you to sign that one and get it back to me. All right. So with that said, I'm going to talk a little bit about the star ratings. Just want to add a little bit on the SOA. What are star ratings? Star ratings are calculated by the CMS, which is the Center for Medicare Services, which runs this Medicare industry, to rate the quality and performance of Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans. And they do it using a scale of 1 to 5. As Kent alluded, ours currently, and most of our plans, is a 4. CMS uses more than 40 measures, clinical quality, health plan operations, and member satisfaction to determine a health plan's star rating. So basically, they go out and they hear what the members are telling us about the different parts of our plan, including the operations of our plan. And they formulate a rating for us on an annual basis. Why are star ratings important to the consumer? Well, this rating helps a consumer compare plans based on the way they operate, as well as the efficiency of the operations, meaning the company. If this rating is for consumers, why, as an agent, should I care? Well, this is pretty much what Kent has been going through, as well as Carlos sharing with us in terms of compliance. As an agent, you are the face of the United Healthcare plan, right? And how you portray our plans and sell our plans to the public and interact with these consumers affects our star ratings on the back end. Next slide. How can you impact a star rating? Well, first, follow everything Carlos and Kent just said. But secondly, use that one-on-one appointment checklist. As Kent mentioned, it takes anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes, but that thing is like a appointment Bible. It reminds you of the things that you really need to address prior to enrolling a member. Collect all the information on the enrollment to ensure completeness and accuracy. And that means you want to make sure you have their Medicare card, their Medi-Cal card, their doctors, not only their primary care physicians, but you want to get a list of their specialists. You want a list of all of their medications, and you want to take a moment to look them up to make sure everyone takes the plan. Know and explain the benefits thoroughly. And that's where we come in. We work directly with yourselves so you can know exactly what our plans do and what they do not do. So you can portray that to the member effectively. Communicate to the members frequently throughout the year. And that was what I posted on the touch points. I recommend anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe 3 to 6, maybe something on a quarterly basis. If nothing else, check in to see how they're doing, especially during COVID, right? Pick up the phone. It may take you, a few hours to call a handful of people. Hey, Kent, just checking in with you. This is Brett Johnson with United Healthcare, making sure things are fine and you're using all your benefits. If there's anything else I can do for you, kind of thing. Encourage members to take advantage of their benefits, as I just mentioned. We have a lot of ancillary benefits like the transportation, the hearing, the dental, the vision checkups, right? Make sure they're using those things. Ask them. Maybe they just don't know how, don't want to bother you. Give them opportunity to let you know if they do or don't and help them. Selling compliantly will reduce complaints. And again, by making this impact, higher star ratings equals easier selling. Next slide. So how to reduce complaints? Well, first and foremost, I'd use the one-on-one application checklist and invest that time up front to reduce your problems on the back end. Call me first. What that means is have your clients call you first if and when they receive a problem. So instruct them that at the end of the enrollment, hey, Kent, I enjoyed meeting you today. I'm glad you enrolled. This is a great plan for you. If you have any questions or any problems going forward here, please give me a call. Here's my cell phone number. Just that simple. And it's usually things such as I lost my card or I changed my doctor. And sometimes when that call goes directly to United Healthcare, it could go a little differently than as simple as I lost my card, which could eventually become a complaint. So have them call you first. You should be the point person. That's your member, that's your client. Be thorough as you assess the client's needs. As Kent was pointing out on the checklist, what does this plan mean to you? Why do you need this plan? Right? Make sure you go through all that stuff thoroughly. Using Lean to Enroll is one of the best ways to reduce complaints. And what we mean there is you can enroll members via paper application, via fax, paper application where you can mail it in, or you can simply use the electronic Lean platform. It does a couple things. One, it ensures the accuracy of that we received it, right? It date stamps everything. And two, you get your money faster, right? That too will help reduce complaints. Follow up after a plan goes in effect. So if you enroll someone here on March 17th, their plan is going to go in effect April 1st. You want to call them a week or so after that, maybe 7 to 10 days. Hey, Kent, this is Brett, just checking in on you. Your plan went into effect April 1st. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to your doctor to schedule some appointments or not, but just wanted to check in and make sure everything's going okay and that you actually received your card and it has the correct doctor on it, right? That too can happen, everyone, is where you'll choose a specific primary care physician and somehow the system picked up something incorrectly and it puts the wrong doctor on there. Well, your member gets the card. And if you remember, the first thing they said when you sat down in their house is, I don't want to change my doctors. Boy, when they get that card and it has a different doctor's name on it, they think you did some sort of bait and switch and it immediately becomes a complaint. So you make sure you call them at least a week or so after the effective period to check on anything, but you want to check on that card. That's one of the main things. Use your resource market managers. Again, if you're ever faced with a situation where a client is having any kind of difficulties with United Healthcare, their plan, or their primary care physicians, you should have them reach out to you first and foremost. Remember, call you first, but then yourselves should call one of us. We can help walk you through or guide you through and get those things rectified before the member files a complaint, or in this case, before the member is just dissatisfied, right? Short of a complaint, we don't want an unhappy member. We're here to help members live healthier lives, but we also want satisfied members at the same time. Thank you. I'm gonna throw it back to Matt.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett. Yeah, and that really concludes today's training. I just want to summarize because there was a lot of good content, and it's nice that we have this recorded for you guys to go back and listen to again if you'd like. But really the main things we like to always keep it simple with is permission to contact. If you don't have that working relationship, if you've never met the individual before, obtain that permission to contact before you do some outreach. Scope of appointment, we have that really nice tool available to you with that checklist. But before you show the plans, we need that scope of appointment is ideal. Star ratings, Brett touched on that very nicely. You know, it helps showcase our plan strength. So use that to your advantage when selling United Healthcare's plan, because we do have a fairly above average star rating. And then if there's complaints, ask me first. Use your resources and call your market manager. We didn't set up this session to scare you guys. We don't want you to be afraid of getting into this industry, because it does provide a lot of opportunity to you. But we want to make sure that you're doing things correctly. And I think Carlos mentioned it the best. If you put your clients first, you're going to be just fine. These rules and regulations aren't a gotcha type of method where we're going to be hiding things from you. Everything is very common sense. And if you're concerned about if you're doing the right thing or not, we have resources available. We have ourselves available to make sure that you succeed. So with that being said, I know some people are reaching out on chat about information. I just want to share, and you might want to take a screenshot of this. Let me see if I can. Can you guys see the sales team here?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So here's our contact information and kind of the areas that we currently oversee by county. So feel free to take a screenshot. We can also send this to you, Jeff, Brianna as well, and you can distribute it out as well. But just so that you have our contact information, I know as questions start to come up.
That's great.
Awesome. So with that being said, looks like we have some questions coming in the chat. Carlos, Kent, Brett, what are we seeing here? We have a few minutes.
I see Casey asked, can you have a UHC logo on a personal business website listed as a Medicare provider? Where there are some guidelines as to what can and cannot be posted on your Facebook business page, but yes, you can have one, and we have a complete department and resources online to identify the guidelines of posting on Facebook. Send me an email, Casey, and I will direct you to that information.
Just remember, you can do anything you want as long as it's generic. If you just want to mention Medicare, that you answer Medicare questions in your local market, that's completely fine. Once you use an insurance company name or any kind of benefit, like a premium or a copay or a provider network, then you need to get prior approval before sending that out, okay?
Awesome. I think I see Kathy sent a question in. I see tables set up in Walgreens with agents for United Healthcare. Are they signing up folks for Medicare? Yeah, so during our annual enrollment period, we do have opportunities at local Walgreens locations where we have agents that represent United Healthcare talking about our plans and can do enrollments from that location as well. So those are opportunities that we have available to our agents down the road once AEP begins.
Yep, and that's also, for your community business organizations that you're working with and networking with. A lot of agents will set up where they're there, once a week or once or twice a month, at their place where there's, of course, this is when COVID. Even sometimes we have agents in the COVID environment where they're out in the market, they're having a table there to ask, answer questions. Maybe it's an outdoor event or something like that. We see a lot of pictures from agents coming through. So keep that in the back of your mind. Those are what we call an informal community sales event, where you're there to ask, answer questions and help people to enroll if they want to. So yeah, those. And Walgreens is just a little bit different program because it's driven from UHC and our relationship with them. But there is nothing to prevent. We have agents that have 20, 30, 40 different relationships in the market where they are that Medicare resource and expert for each of those organizations to get those referrals and to continue driving business.
Awesome. One last thing I want to mention before we wrap up here. Next week, we have our lean enrollment tool that we're going to walk through. Brett's our guru with that. He's the guy that knows everything about lean. So he's going to be walking through that. If you have access to lean right now, that's going to be really important because you can kind of follow along and kind of see what we're doing in real time. If you don't have access to lean right now, it probably means you need to get your certifications done. So get those certifications done, get it out of the way, so then you can start playing around with the different applications that we have. So make sure to tune in next week, though. It's a really important one.
There's another question in the chat with the Q&A, if you want to have Dondi.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
Let's see here.
And also Noel, I think that may have been answered.
How does an agent, so Michael asked, how does an agent go about permission to contact when we're not allowed to cold call or just randomly call a prospect? Anybody want to answer that? Carlos, Brett, Kent? Otherwise, I can take it.
Well, there's definitely ways to get permission to contact. If they're already a current book of business, you don't need it. That's number one. Number two, it goes back I think in the slides, during that topic, it talked about different ways to do it, like talk to a community outreach organization, like a chamber of commerce, or go to a senior center, those sort of things. You can do bulk things like direct mail pieces to a lot of different people, or bulk email piece. Those are all allowed. But it's the individual contacts, unsolicited, that are not allowed. So if you need information and would like kind of putting together a business plan on how to get people, how to talk to people and how to market yourself, please contact your market manager and they can go over a long list. So yeah, there's your partnerships with senior centers, doctors' offices. You can do things at bowling alleys. You can do things at golf courses with senior leagues. But yeah, definitely talk to your market manager and they can point you in the right direction.
Awesome.
Yeah, and at all those events Carlos described there, is you're actually going to have a lead card, which you have them fill that out and say, hey, great. Love to be able to answer questions about your Medicare. Go ahead and fill out this optional information card here for you. They fill it out, and now you have permission to call. And that's really the indirect reason why we have and recommend and why agents do all these, like Carlos mentioned, a golf course and different events. So you can be there. Somebody comes up to the table and they ask, oh, great. Thank you so much for stopping by here. Let me have you to fill this out so I can answer your questions. Optional information card. And that gives you that PTC that you're looking for.
Yeah, and we'll be, I think it's our last training session about business planning and marketing. We'll dive deeper into those details on how do we market appropriately. This was more of just kind of understanding our lingo and jargon on what permission to call is, how does it work. So we'll tie it into how it relates to going after new business appropriately. And then Noel had a question. I'll be buying leads, which means I will already have a relationship with the client. Does anybody want to take that one with buying leads?
Well, with buying leads, the lead source that you're getting them from has already received permission to contact from the client. That should be already taken care of. And if they haven't, you better get back to them and saying, hey, have they given you the permission to contact? Because that's the way you can get that permission.
Yep, exactly. Awesome. Any other questions? I know we're just past the top of the hour, but anything else? All right. Well, with that, if you guys do have questions after we log off today, feel free to send us an email, give us a call. We are more than happy to help you out and help you understand this some more.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
All
Thank
right.
Matthew, Carlos, Kent, and Brett for your time, and we look forward to seeing you guys all next week.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Take
I'm
care.
gonna wash
Thanks,
this,
you guys.
I'm gonna wash this green face paint off and have lunch. Hey,
Do it.
have a great day, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.